Hi, welcome to another episode of Middleware Friday, 89, April 19, 2019. Sharing custom code between Logic Apps. So, in this episode, I'd like to talk to you guys around using Azure Functions to share some custom code or logic between Logic Apps. So, kind of reusing some functionality that could be useful for one or multiple Logic Apps. Kind of sharing code between Logic Apps. That's kind of what I talk about. And the other part is a little bit of community Microsoft content around Azure Functions and Logic Apps and how to basically collaborate between Logic Apps and functions. So okay, custom code. So Logic Apps offers a lot out of the box. So it's a workflow you can run in the cloud, has multiple connectors. You probably know all this, and you can even use function expressions, for instance, something I talked about in another Middleware Friday episode. But sometimes there might be some functionality you require that's not available in that function expression. So maybe you require some other datetime functionality, or maybe you need to do some finance operations that cannot be done with the mathematical expressions that are available. So you can think about those. Maybe you want to do a database lookup. There are, of course, database connectors, but maybe you need to do some kind of custom query, or maybe to a view that's not available yet in a connector, or maybe you need to call out to a database which resides on another cloud platform. Or maybe you have to call an external API indirectly. So yes, you can use a custom connector, but presumably maybe you want to do it through a function for a reason that might be, or maybe again you require to call maybe a service on another cloud platform, and you might as well do that through a function. So through a Logic App, you call a function, and then you can do something. So just let a little bit of a visual representation. What I kind of want to convey the message in this Middleware Friday is that, let's say you have multiple Logic Apps within Azure subscription, and within this Azure subscription you can also have a function app with multiple functions, and these functions are just resides as a kind of a library, and that's accessible for all these Logic Apps. That's kind of what I want to depict in this small little diagram. So you might recall this demo from a previous Middleware Friday episode. So there's a Logic App ingesting open exchange rates from the, in this case it's USD exchange rates. It contains an element which is a datetime, but it's more like a Unix format of a datetime, which is called epoch, and you want to get that back to datetime. So there is no function expression in Logic App available to do this for you, so you can call out to a function. And then once you've done the little calling out to a function to provide this logic, then you can push this message to a queue, and then it's being pulled from another Logic App and being pushed in a collection. So you've seen this before, but it's more like, and this is a good example of calling a function that converts an epoch to datetime. You might want to share this with other Logic Apps. So let's look at a demo. So the Logic App. So the Logic App is based on the recurrence. It will run every hour. It will call out to that endpoint, that open exchange rate, parse it, so basically tokenize what's coming in, because you kind of want to have that timestamp, which is an epoch, and give that to a function. So you can use the built-in connector towards that function, provide the element, at least the data you want to convert, so that timestamp, which is an epoch, to datetime, and then add that property datetime to the response from, or at least the objects being retrieved from calling that open exchange rate, and then pass it to a queue. So if you look at some of the previous runs, so let's open one. And let's have a look at this run. And let's see what happens. So recurrence, it's calling out to this open endpoint. It would return, and as you can see, the timestamp is right here. You parse it, so basically obtain that time value for the datetime. So this is the timestamp. it will give it to that function, which will then just provide the date time. Okay, so within this demo, I showed that one logic app calls out to the function. So I can add, let's say, another logic app. So let's do this. Create another logic app just to showcase what I'm trying to see with sharing the code. So let's call this the test logic app Middleware Friday. Use the existing group, which is the exchange rate, West Europe. Yep. Okay, create. We'll provision this. Deployment in progress. So I'm just creating another logic app. When a HTTP request is, so it will happen after, so I'm using the sample payload, I'm using a very simple thing, let's say date time is being provided, just a simple message coming in. Okay, save this. Okay, and then add in the next step, and this is the Azure function. And here you see all these functions, right? So as you can see, you can approach all these functions, or all these function apps actually. So here are the concurrency functions. It needs to render it. So you even control a new function through this, and then put it in the function app and then share it with others. But here's the epoch date time again. The request body is simple. I just want to provide the date time. So basically it's the body. And then I'm kind of, maybe I just want to do the response back. Oh, sorry. The response. And I could say, okay, body would be what's coming out of that function. So simple function, but again, so I'm just creating another logic app, which also calls out to the same function app, containing that, functionality of converting epoch to date time. So that can be very useful to create a library with all these functions that you can share with other logic apps. So I hope this demo was a bit useful and give you food for thought about, okay, how do I share logic or custom code between multiple logic apps within your, let's say, Azure subscription. If it was going to be cross-subscription, you might have to call out the function through a HTTP call. That might be possible as well. So community content, so again, how do I create a function and integrate with an Azure Logic app, or when to use one over the other? That might be interesting too. Sometimes, the Logic app's not suitable for anything. You might use, can be the function itself. But function and Logic app in general really coincide well together. So these are kind of the content I've presented here that is about Logic apps and functions. And another interesting one in general would be, if you just look at Logic App function, web jobs, and Microsoft, when to use one over the other. So that's an interesting one too, in general, with the context of Logic Apps and functions. Okay, before I leave and end this episode, I want to point out again to integrate 219. So we're now in the month of April. So when you watch this, in the middle of April, you can go to either the UK one, which is the 3rd to the 5th of June, and regular price now, 1st to the 30th of April, so that's $6.99 English pounds, so you find the URL right there. Or if you reside in the other parts of the world and you might think, hey, this is a better suitable for me to go to the US, there's one 24th and 26th of June on the Redmond campus. Also now there are regular price available 1st until the 30th of April. So if you're able to do so, get one of the tickets at regular price. Okay, so I'd like to thank you for watching again. So a short episode about sharing functionality within functions, custom code with multiple Logic apps. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again. And next week will be Kent with episode 99 before we'll go to the milestone, the 100th. So I'll leave you with the music credits.